All right, hello there once again, pod racing fans. Welcome back to another match in the group stage of the 2021 Galactic Circuit Tournament. I am Nock. I'm joined here by Mikey Berger, one of the longest standing runners of this game. Thank you again for joining me here, Mikey.
Very welcome. Always nice to commentate with you, Nock.
We have an interesting match here today. It's DigitalUnity versus Mageius, both players who participated in last year's tourney and improved quite a lot since then. Um, So should be some fun races between the two of them. I know Mageius has a penchant for picking the long, difficult tracks. So we'll be seeing a lot of what this game has to offer today.
Yeah, he was just sort of saying about Zugo, wasn't he, that he wasn't so keen on that. Although I think he's played that a lot. Like, it's one of his most commonly played tracks. Maybe it was more rather coincidence, or I don't know, but he says he's not so keen on it. But he does seem to like the longer tracks.
Yeah, I can see with the sort of not quite randomness, because obviously the bulldozer at the end does follow a pattern, but the ways in which you can crash there are kind of difficult to avoid at times. So I can see wanting to avoid that track.
Yeah, it's proven to be one of the most deadly tracks. I think perhaps for that reason, it's sort of thing that a lot of players just forget about, and then you get caught out by it. So, but yeah, these two had some interesting matches last year. So I think this should be an interesting match. I think there is some stake here. I mean, no one. I think basically, as far as I understand it, at least everyone has to try and win at least one match if possible. I think, or at least I think
Yes.
that certainly gives them a good chance of getting through to the next stage. So yeah, it'll definitely be interesting because they were I think they were next to each other on rankings from last year. So it'd be interesting to see how it turns out this year.
I've given the countdown for the players for our first track here, which will be Howler Gorge. We'll see how they get on. As you said, they were very closely matched last year, but both have been practicing a lot and made a lot of improvement. So this could end up being close.
Yeah, in my opinion, DigitalUnity has improved significantly since last year. I feel there should probably be some sort of reward or voting system for most improved player. I think that would be quite a nice feature to have.
That would be a nice award to give out at the end of things. DigitalUnity has certainly impressed me with his last match against Lightning Pirate. That was very close against a very experienced runner.
Yeah, I really had to feel for him in that match. He had so many chances to take one of the wins, and it just didn't work out for him, unfortunately. But yeah, that was just another great example, really, of a 5-0 not really being a 5-0. So yeah, it's just one of those things.
You see DigitalUnity there using the lowered fall speed on the Switch version of the game to easily take that entire jump. Normally you would land on the ground and then redo your boost. Oh, both of them crashing in the same way, actually, there on that rib that separates the three sort of paths up that ramp.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, that was a bit unfortunate for Mageius. He was just a bit unlucky there with the landing, just took a lot of damage on the right engine. I think that was what caused him to crash there.
DigitalUnity, unfortunately, clipping the edge of the tent. Getting into that shortcut is very difficult. Wow! A lot of unfortunate crashes here for DigitalUnity.
Yeah. Yeah, Mageius.
Sorry.
That's right. Go on, Nock.
No, I was just going to say, Mageius was keeping it relatively clean through that last section of the first lap, and then, of course, slammed into the wall.
Yeah, I was sort of like, I don't want to say anything because he's doing all right, but yeah, it's. I think I agree. I think Mageius has improved. I think statistically that was shown as well, and I keep saying this, but it is a difficult game to try and get through these tracks and survive. It really is, especially with some, like, for example, Mageius doing the more original route here on Howler. It's there are some tricky sections, and I mean, he doesn't have a huge amount of experience either. I know he plays a little bit, and he's certainly made progress, but if you're trying to sort of learn as you're going along, it's really hard to try and survive. Really.
Yeah, certainly it can look a little silly when you see players crashing 3 or 4 or 5 times on a track, but if you pick up this game and try to play Ben at max upgrades on some of these courses, you'll start to understand why this is happening. This is a game with very tight margins, and it'll crash you quite easily, and all of the tracks are super narrow. It's just a sort of a death trap of a game.
Yeah, I mean, some of the physics are kind of common to pretty much every like normal racing games. Some of them are a little bit more unusual. Like, for example, the braking mechanics in this game are kind of unusual because, like, when you accumulate speed without basically your baseline speed, so your speed when you're not boosting, that accumulates over time with acceleration, obviously. And when you try and brake after accumulating a lot of speed, it can really take a long time to break. Like it's not you know it you basically you slow down slowly at first, and then it looks kind of like you accelerate. So it's like an accelerated braking, which is very unusual to sort of try and get your head around.
Definitely a lot of idiosyncrasies, especially with this being such an old game. Digital Unity coming in there with a 343 with several crashes. Still a fine time considering the number of times he crashed. I hope he'll be able to clean it up a bit in later races. Of course, Howler Gorge not an easy track, and the tent shortcut is always a hair raiser even for the most experienced players.
Yeah, I think May just being a little bit more conservative than he was last year, and I think it's paying off a little bit. He's not crashing as much certainly, which is always good. And there's definitely, like you say, sort of a balance between the two, because obviously you don't want to go so passive and survive to the point where you're just not getting any speed on the track, because obviously that can lose you a lot of time. But again, if you're crashing all the time, then you lose the same time anyway. So it's definitely a balance, and that's certainly even more important on some of the technical longer tracks like Grabvine Gateway, for example.
And especially in a tournament setting, we'll definitely be seeing players not pushing as hard as they might if they were going for world record attempts.
Yeah, some interesting strategies as well from Digital Unity. Some avoiding the rock section at the end by riding on the wall on the left. That's kind of an interesting strategy. It's very much a game for ideas. I think this one. There's always different ways, different approaches of doing tracks. That's certainly been observed a lot in the last few years of this game's development.
All right, we'll be going into the permanent bans. Each player gets to choose 2 tracks that they will ban for the rest of the match. Digital Unity banning Grabline Gateway and Mageius countering with Abyss. Digital Unity second track will be Fire Mountain Rally. So Digital Unity has taken out the hardest track, and then Fire Mountain in Grabline Gateway, and then Fire Mountain Rally, which is either the second or third hardest track, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, well, they certainly have the same characteristics, don't they? They're both Burunda tracks, very technical, long circuits. I think also Magis is quite um, fond of picking those tracks. And to be fair, they are actually great to watch. I do enjoy watching those tracks being played.
It definitely it's fun to watch at the highest level for sure. Don't blame Digital Unity for banning them here, as those are both tracks where you can accumulate a lot of crashes very quickly, even on the sections that look easy.
Yeah. Magis and Disunity, I think, played I think it was Fire Mountain Rally. Yes, I think it was Fire Mountain Rally in their match last year. Or well, Game Draco is just informing me that. Okay, yeah. So it was no upgrades as well. So yeah, I think the time was something like 13 minutes. It might have even been exactly 13, if my memory serves.
I would believe that. Fire Mountain Rally being the longest track in the game, and with no upgrades, that sounds like a titanic effort.
Yeah, that low traction is difficult on those tracks, especially since you bowls is more optimal there when you don't have any upgrades. Ooh, so we might be getting a mirror possibly for this next track. That'd be interesting.
Would be very fun. Mageius has been a big proponent of adding forcing mirror mode to the choices that players can use their forces on. For those who don't know the structure of the tournament, every player has three forces they may use when they have lost a track and are counterpicking. They may use these to ban extra pods, to force no upgrades, or to force skips, as normally skips are not allowed in tournament.
Ooh, execution.
And we
Yeah,
should mention Ben Quadraneros is banned for this track as well, so they can't use the fastest pod.
yes. Yeah, it's certainly an interesting idea. I mean, I can see that like maybe a lot of players might not like to play mirror mode, but I think if your opponent agrees to it, I think that's interesting. And I don't know, maybe we could just perhaps more in future tourneys just say, well, if both players agree then and they want to use it as one of their forces, they can. I think that's quite a good way of perhaps a good suggestion for that idea.
Yeah, I believe the pushback has been, as Game Draco says, it's a very one-sided force because in order to prepare for it, with skips, you might have to practice a dozen or so things, and even then, there's really only maybe 6 or 7 skips anyone would actually pick in tournament. But with mirror mode, you'd have to practice every track twice, and you'd
Yeah.
have to relearn all the muscle memory. So it's very one-sided. If one person learns one mirror mode track very well, and a lot of work for the players.
Yeah, I think it depends on like you say, it eliminates the experience issue. But I think for players who don't have that experience, it's probably an advantage because if they don't have the experience of the tracks anyway, they're probably better picking the mirror mode against someone who is because, like you say, the muscle memory is for the reverse of the track. So that's it's certainly an interesting idea.
Just waiting here on the ready from Magus. He's hovering Toy Dampener there. He was using that pod quite a bit in his match against Ace the other day.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why he likes to use Toy Dampener particularly. I mean, there's no Ben here, which kind of makes it a little bit more logical. And Bullseye is very fragile, so Toy's a little bit tougher, doesn't quite take so much damage. So it means you're more likely to survive a lot of situations.
This is
Um,
true. Though,
but
of course, Bull's Roar would be the next fastest pod on this track, one imagines.
yeah, well, I suppose that's what I was wondering. But maybe I guess Toy Dampener has fairly high traction, so maybe he's just looking for a relatively solid pod that he's comfortable with playing, and basically he doesn't suffer those high rated damage issues that you get with a pod like Bullseye or something. Although it looks like he is playing Bullseye now.
Yeah, it looks like he decided to switch. Bullseye, very safe pod, aside from the damage issue. Wow, both players going with Bullseye.
Ooh, that's interesting.
I wonder if it hadn't been mirror mode, if Digital Unity would have been comfortable playing Bulls here.
Yeah,
Bulls' main issue is partly due to his extremely low traction, which the 60 frames per second of the Switch kind of nullifies.
yeah, possibly. Looks like so far though, Digital Unity's done a good job with this mirror mode. He's taken some pretty good lines so far.
Yep. Oh, okay, he makes it into that tube. That's the that's the muscle memory there for him. He took the wrong wall ride to jump into that tube, but it ended up working out in the end. If you don't jump into that tube, if you just try to enter it normally, you almost always crash.
I gotta be honest, I didn't even notice actually until you said, and I was like, oh yeah. So yeah, that's just a good example of what happens when you play on mirror mode here.
Mageius unfortunately taking a couple of crashes. Those crashes in the gravity tubes don't cost as much as a normal crash, since the gravity tubes are fast terrain. Which essentially just means they make you go faster while you're in them. 136 first lap for Digital Unity. That's not a bad time for Bullseye, especially considering its mirror mode here. Ooh, clips that. The pillar doesn't quite see it there around the corner.
Yeah, I think that was a 130 actually. It's good, yeah. Not too bad for Magis either, 51. I mean, he took some deaths in the tube, I saw, but
And crashing again here. That's probably the unfamiliarity kicking in. That turn is hard enough on normal mode.
yeah,
Digital Unity makes the jump this time.
yeah, using the same wall he used last time. Oof, that was
Yeah, just clips a rock there. Magis actually taking the lower path, which I believe is faster for Bullseye Navoir and other pods with shorter boost times. You saw
yeah,
Digital Unity going up the red carpet path there, but
yeah. I think that could be true. Yeah,
I believe they're essentially similar lengths, but if you can boost all the way up the red carpet path, it is faster. And if you can't, then it's faster to go through the lower path to take that extra gravity tube for the extra fast terrain.
yeah. I think I've tried both. I had very similar results. I think. But yeah, certainly with Ben Quadinaris with max upgrades, the not going through the first Uvo tube is better. I think.
Yes, that is definitely the IL strat. What we're seeing Digital Unity do here is going up this carpet if you can make the entire boost.
Yeah, like you say though, Bullseye with this shorter boost duration, he's having to boost multiple times over that section, so it's perhaps not as good.
Ah, and okay, Ace is saying at no upgrades, the lower route is always faster. I imagine that's due to both the fast terrain and the fact that in no upgrades you have such atrocious cooling.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Just on the start of his final lap here, hitting the wall there. He's having a lot of trouble in these narrower sections, just having a bit of trouble controlling the pod. Bullseye Navoir is very active in his turning. His burn rate is extremely high. So if you flick your control stick even a little bit too much, it's quite easy to careen into walls. Nice clean final lap for Digital Unity there, a 130 flat. Much better than his first two laps. And Mageius coming into the final home stretch. This gravity tube, the least stressful of any in the game, as it doesn't have any of those annoying floating asteroids in it.
Yeah, it's one of the more pleasant Uvo tubes you have to face. Usually, it's those asteroids that really make it unpleasant on the tracks, other tracks, and Vengeance in this one.
Right, and it looks like lap one was even a fastest lap PB for Mageius there, so always glad to see that for him. Once again, Ben Quaderneros is banned, and DigitalUnity will remove Mongaza Speedway. um, Mongaza Speedway, the shortest track in the game, and actually probably Mageius' best chance of beating DigitalUnity is to take him there and hope he makes a mistake.
Yeah, that would probably be a pretty good pick for Magis, actually. Yeah.
Mongaza Speedway was one of the qualifying tracks for this tournament, so every player in the tourney should be at least passingly familiar with it.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Mongaza Speedway. Obviously, with the tournament I did as well for David, that was one of the tracks featured. So, yeah, a lot of players have done that track and also taken a lot of deaths on it as well.
Yes, actually, it's very surprisingly in the David Stubbs Memorial Tournament, our top two runners in Ace and Domire taking crashes on Mongaza Speedway on the first lap. I suppose both of them were trying to push for as fast a time as they could, and that's the price you pay in this game.
Yeah, I think when you've got a track that only takes about 40 seconds, taking a 5-second penalty for a death is significant. Whereas obviously if it's a 6 or 7 minute track or whatever, then it's hardly anything. So yeah, you can't really afford to crash on short tracks. I think that's the lesson to be learned, really.
All right, we are going to Ando Prime Centrum, the first track of the Invitational Circuit, and one of the most unique tracks in the game.
Yeah, it's a nice track, this one, and it's in the city as well, so you get quite a lot of interesting views and a lot of different route options as well that players can choose.
Yep, Mageius, a big fan of this track for that reason. He really enjoys showing off everything the tracks have to offer, and with all the branching routes in this, there is a lot to show.
Yeah, he didn't do too badly actually on this track when he played it in his last match. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on this time.
All right, and this time we will looks like we'll not be playing on mirror mode. Yes, definitely last time around, Magis did seem to know this track reasonably well. He was taking one of the slower routes, but a safer route, I believe. The fastest route on this track
Yeah.
requires going through a difficult hairpin.
Yes. I was just looking at his last year's results for the previous track. Actually, he that was a PB for Magis in tournament. So it's a 5:36. Yes, that's a 14-second improvement, which is good. But yeah, I do think if he could just be confident enough to try and take the top route, even though even if it means slowing down significantly, I still feel that would be better for him than taking the longer route that he's used to taking.
He was mentioning before the match that he was still trying to learn all of the proper routes for tracks with branching paths, so possibly also just some unfamiliarity on his part. confirming some things between the players. Should be starting shortly.
So they've both got all their forces remaining. So it's just Ben Quadinaris who is the best pod on this track, which is the only other rule, basically, the pod ban.
Yep, Mageius taking away the fastest pod. It makes some sense for him in this match, I think. If he's not comfortable playing with Ben, DigitalUnity probably is. So it's good to take that away.
Well, I was just wondering what he did last time. I think he did play perhaps with Bullseye. Maybe it was. I'm not sure. I'll have to just check this.
Against Ace the other day, I believe he took Toy Dampener here.
Oh yes, he did. Yeah, so that's probably I think that's a progress in terms of the pod. I think because I think if he's going to use the same lines he did, that should probably give him a better time.
Yes, I believe Bullseye is a significantly faster pod than Toy Dampener is.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand maybe why he wouldn't want to pick like Bowls here, because the Bowls obviously is the second best pod. In other words, in this situation that they're in, Bowls would be the optimal pick probably. But yeah, I can see why he'd want to go with Bullseye here. So let's see if he can improve his best time here.
All right, the countdown has been given. And yeah, fingers crossed for Mageius. It's always great to see him getting new PBs in tourney.
Yeah, well, hopefully you can take some wins as well off DigitalUnity. So DigitalUnity has gone with Bowls.
Yeah, brave of him. This is a very difficult pod to use. Ben is not easy himself, but Bulls is just very difficult handling.
And I believe DigitalUnity plays on Switch, if that's right.
Yes, that is correct. DigitalUnity is our only player not on PC this year, I believe.
So I think he is fixed at 60 frames, which can be a little bit problematic in some tracks.
Yeah, 60 frames would make taking the hairpin on this track exceptionally difficult. I wonder if that's why he didn't elect to do it. He went for that right side path. Normally you'll see runners going to the left in the entrance to that large atrium.
Well, I still feel like he should have gone left, because by going right, it means he has to take that turn tighter, effectively. So, but yeah, I think because for those who don't know this game, it has a sliding function, which is kind of something else you can do in addition to turning. So it's kind of like an aid to the turning, but it's heavily dependent on the frame rate you're using. So the sliding element is actually increased when you use lower frame rates, which is why if you're taking corners, it can often be better to use lower frames. So having 60 is a bit of a disadvantage sometimes, like in DigitalUnity's case.
It's making good time of it, though. Pretty clean laps so far. Underheating a little, but underheating is better than boosting in the wrong place and crashing. And Mageius as well is actually making pretty decent time for Bullseye.
Yeah, I mean, even if you play perfectly with Bullseye, you're going to be a long way behind Bowls here, just because the average speed of Bullseye is just not as good. A bit of a rough death from DigitalUnity there in the hairpins section.
It's ever so easy to go a little too fast and slam into the wall there. Oh, and that bump out caught him off guard. Unfortunately for Mageius, I think it's not going to be quite enough. DigitalUnity should have no trouble coming across the finish line ahead. Still a very strong showing from Mageius here so far. He could he could pull his PB down here quite a bit, I think, if he spent a little bit of time practicing and got comfortable with Ben.
When he played Ace, he got a time of 3:49. That was with toy dampeners, so he's beaten that pretty easily. Yeah, that was a lot closer than the previous race, though. So it's a track Mageius can, I think, get better at over time. Certainly.
It comes in with a 3:28 here, so 11 seconds faster than the other day. And as you saw, that was a much closer race than the previous two, with Mageius only 25 seconds behind DigitalUnity.
Yeah, 3:54 last year, and then 3:49. I think it was in his last match, and now 3:28. So I mean, there's clear progress there.
DigitalUnity telling Mageius, pull out all the stops here. Mageius has only 2 counter picks left, no matter what happens here, so we'll hope to see him using his forces, as these will be the last chances he has for them.
Perhaps we'll get some more mirrored circuits or something interesting like that. I mean, they can always do a gentleman's agreement on something as well. So that's where because obviously we have a general list of rules that players should abide by. But if both players agree to any given scenario, they can effectively do whatever they want.
Mageius banning Bullseye. That's a very scary ban if Grabvine Gateway and Fire Mountain Rally weren't banned already. I guess Baru Coast might be his angle here.
I could see that.
For reference, Bullseye is the fastest pod on Grabvine Gateway and Fire Mountain Rally. Because they're so twisty, no one else can take the turns quickly enough or leverage their boost quite as well. So banning Bullseye is often a signifier that you're about to be taken to one of the hardest tracks in the game without the pod you're most comfortable on.
Looks like Mageius is interested in taking such a track. So yeah, I think Baru Coast could be a good guess here.
Yeah, that is the only one I could think of. Maybe Bunta Classic, as Draco says. Bullseye is a very safe pick on both Bunta Classic and Baru Coast, but Ben is faster there.
Okay, so DigitalUnity has banned Baru Coast, I think, now.
Yeah,
Temporarily.
I think he probably knows that's a potential nasty counterpick that he does not want to deal with right now.
He could still go with Mongaza Speedway.
True, he could. I would like to see that. I like that track quite a bit.
Well, as you say, I think it's a good suggestion for Mageius. I think if there's a track which he might be able to win, I think that's probably it. Ooh, so it seems Game Draco was right then. So we have Bunta Classic with Mirror if DigitalUnity agrees with it.
Yeah, well, Mongaza Speedway might be Mageius's best chance at picking up a track. Bunta Classic is definitely more his style.
He picked this against me actually last year or the year before. I played Bunter Classic with mirror mode against Mageius. So he has experience in this scenario.
We'll see how Digital Unity gets on. This is definitely risky for Digital Unity to agree to. Bunta Classic is one of the 3 hardest tracks in the game. Very twisty, very narrow at certain parts, and a lot of precise driving required.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a bad pick from Mageius. Yeah, I think he could have a chance here. And with regards to the mirror force, officially there isn't any rule with where you can use a force to use mirror mode. But if both players agree to, like if it's proposed by the player who wants to use mirror mode, and then both players agree, then they can do it if they wish.
We'll certainly be in for a treat with this one. This is a 5-ish minute track at reasonable speed, so we'll see what happens with the mirror mode here. All right, countdown has been given. They'll be off shortly. Astute viewers will likely catch on pretty quickly here that this track is based pretty heavily on the track from The Phantom Menace. It's not quite a one-to-one recreation, but you'll see many of the same turns and track elements, including some prominent shortcuts that Anakin takes in the movie.
Yeah, Mageius did a 9 minutes flat against me in this scenario last year. So it was last year he picked this against me. And he also used Toy Damper there as well. So it looks like he's happy to do the same thing here again.
Digital Unity taking Neva Key. Neva is often considered one of the better substitutes for Bullseye Navar when he's not in the pool. Nearly as fast and nearly as good turning, although Mars Guo would likely have been faster here, and Ben Quadranero certainly would have been. Ooh, Mage getting caught twice here in the same section.
See Digital Unity just trying to figure out what the correct route is, because I'm sure he knows without the mirror, but with the mirror on, it's very confusing. In fact, it's almost worse if you already know the track, and then you have to try and work out in your head what's the reverse line. It can be very confusing.
Yeah, in a way, this is as bad as if it was his first time seeing the track, probably. Just sort of playing on instinct. Ooh, clipping the canyon there. Yeah, that's the muscle memory coming in. Normally you would go right there to avoid that crash, but on mirror mode, you've got to go left.
Yeah, it certainly has its points, this counter pick.
Let's see how he handles the sand crawler. Avoids it, nice.
Yeah, I expect he does a lot better on his second and third laps once he kind of gets a feel for everything is. That's a good suggestion from chat. I suppose they probably could if they wanted to.
Yeah, technically you can agree to anything in a gentleman's agreement. Any pod pick, track pick, anything that's in the game. How on earth did Digital Unity catch fire there? Was he overheating and I just didn't see?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, falls off the shortcut. Digital
Ooh.
Unity there. And Mageius has really cleaned up in the back half of this lap. He had a few unfortunate crashes the first way through, but that last section looked a lot better.
Well, last year his lap times were sort of 2:51 to 3:05, so he's already on pace to beat that.
He is unfortunately taking one of the slower routes up this hill. Digital Unity has been taking the jump over the course, which cuts out quite a few seconds by skipping a turn. Crashing again in the same place for Mageius. Looks maybe a little uncomfortable with that lower section. Oh, and falling into a hole there. As you said, Digital Unity seems to be a lot more comfortable in the second lap. He's taken a lot of engine damage, though, so he's going to have to slow down to repair for a bit.
Yeah, it always makes me nervous going through that section with the Tuscan Raiders where you're heading towards the Sandcrawler because your pod just slides all over the place.
Yes, those fires are RNG. There is a way that you can largely force them to come out behind you by boosting the right spots, but I don't know if either player knows that strategy. And once again, a kind of messy first half for Mages, but a much cleaner second half of his lap.
Yeah, I think the first half of this track is probably the most difficult part.
Certainly, the chicane coming out of the jump Digital Unity does over the hill can be very difficult. This canyon section is truly a test of skill, especially with all those bumps coming out of the walls. It's a lot narrower than it looks because you have to avoid those.
Yes, and yeah, that previous crash in Magis was actually caused by his damage on his engine. So when you have a damaged engine, then the pod will pull in the direction of that damaged engine. So effectively, if you have extreme damage on just one side of an engine, then you can't actually turn in the opposite direction, which is why you end up pulling in towards the walls and crashing.
Yeah, and I'm sort of wondering if he just hasn't trained in the reaction to slow down and repair when that happens, or same issue again for him. All 3 laps here. That's really unfortunate. Digital Unity coming in with a 6:17. Not a terrible time for Niva Key in general. Obviously, probably would have been significantly better had he not been on mirror mode and not needed to rebuild the familiarity with the course over the first lap.
Yeah, we saw he improved on every lap he did there. So yeah, it just goes to show the effect that playing mirror has on you in this game.
It truly is bizarre to see all of these turns backwards. Me just navigating the canyon section pretty well there, actually. A couple of scrapes, but nothing too significant.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, Toy doesn't have the best turning in the world, so yeah, like I say, you've got to play. You've got to be pretty accurate to get through there in one piece, at least without breaking or slowing down.
Seems like from the way if you see in the bottom right corner of Magus's screen his speed, as it fills up with red there, that's him holding nose down to charge up his boost. You have to charge that up for a second before you're allowed to actually boost. And you can see he's sort of it's going up and then dropping, going up and then dropping. I wonder if he has not bound a button to nose down, or if he's trying to do it the way you have to on console, which is to hold your joystick forward. If that's the case, then in order to charge his boost, he's actually losing a lot of turning rate by not being able to move the controller all the way to the side.
Yeah, that's true actually, and I know that Magis, in speaking with him a few times, he's very fond of combining keys for different functions. So it's possible. It's something we could ask him about actually in interview. But that's almost a minute improvement on his toy dampener time from last year. In the same situation again, it was mirror mode on this track. So yeah, that's good. I think his PB was also an 8:12 as well with bullseye, so he's only 2 seconds off that time as well.
Yeah, actually a very reasonable showing from Magus there,
Well, he's
given
made
his
progress on every track pretty much, I think, from his personal best times.
Yeah, I think we were noting in his match against Ace the other day as well, a lot of new tournament PBs at the very least.
Yeah, can't really ask for much more than that. That's good.
All right, what will his final pick be? He could potentially take us back to one of these tracks. We do allow in the rules, normally you're not allowed to pick a track that has already been run, but if you lose a track, you may once per match perform what's called a salty run back and take your opponent back there to try it again. We'll see what the players are thinking of for bans. It looks like we'll probably go to another mirrored track as DigitalUnity seems happy to allow it.
Hey, that would be interesting. Mongaza Speedway mirrored. That would be interesting.
That would be quite a thing.
Okay, so Major starting by immediately temporarily banning Ben's pod for this next race. And this will be his last pick, as Nock, my co-commentator, just said, because obviously if he loses now, then it'll be 5-0. So it's first to 5. So he needs to win. He needs to win this pick and then win all of his opponent's counter picks if he wants to win this match. So pretty tough ask.
Coming back from 5-0, I don't know if that has ever occurred in tourney before? I know we've only run 2 before this.
It's a good question. I know there have been some very close ones. I think I once remember seeing a 4-1 go to 5-4, if I remember correctly, but I can't say who it was.
Certainly a very difficult task for any competitor. Obviously, your opponent's counterpicks will be tracks that they have prepared. They'll have use of all of their forces. And if they just need to win one, it's pretty difficult.
Okay, so it seems that Magis is going to take us to another very long track. He likes those long tracks, doesn't he? So he's taken us to the Gauntlet, and I think he's going to possibly go mirrored again. Yes, he wants mirrored again.
Yeah, another one of this game's Titanic length tracks at world record pace. This is 4 minutes and 58 seconds. Um, so we should expect to see a long race here as Ben has been banned. This is one of those tracks where he can really leverage his long boost and incredible boost thrust.
Yeah, I think pretty much everybody should go with Ben here, probably.
Without Ben, I would guess that either Bull's Roar or Mars Glow would be the best picks here. There is a section of long off-road that is much faster to take, but only, I believe, those three pods can really boost the entire time over it. So anyone else loses a lot of time here due to that section. All right, countdown has been given. They'll be off once the delay catches up. Now, despite being quite long, Gauntlet is not one of the harder tracks in the game. Most of the sections here are pretty reasonable. The gravity tube at the end can be a bit challenging, but for the most part, the turns are not as difficult or as frequent as on some of the other ultra long tracks.
No, and certainly with a lot of these tracks, a lot of them share similar sections. So if you can do, for example, some of the sections on Executioner, you can do some of the sections the same on here because they're the same. So there's that kind of helpful link between the tracks, really.
Yeah, and as you say, you'll notice there that first section is identical to Executioner, track we played earlier on. Ooh, DigitalUnity getting caught up by the mirror mode and taking the turn the wrong direction.
Magis has got it right.
I thought them going with Bullseye here. I wonder if that's just for safety due to the unfamiliarity with the mirror mode.
I don't know, but Digital's gone for the off-road section that we were discussing. I think Magis is not opting for that. Yeah, interesting
What?
technique, Digital. Yeah, riding the wall there just to avoid that section because that really does slow you down a lot.
Yeah, obviously you have to go out a bit wider there, but I wonder if that is any faster for him.
I would think it is probably better. Yeah, I think because obviously you can jump from the wall as well, so I'm sure that would be better than just getting stuck on that section for ages.
And once again, DigitalUnity going left when he should be going right.
Well, fair play to Magis. I mean, it's kind of working this strategy as in terms of picking mirrored tracks. If Digital would agree to them, at least in that sense.
This especially has looked a lot closer. Obviously, these crashes are taking their toll, but they were only maybe 5 to 7 seconds apart a minute ago.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Magis has practiced some of these mirrored tracks just for this scenario.
I think he has. I think he mentioned that he liked playing on mirror mode in the interview after the match with Ace.
Yeah, I thought Digital would probably go with Bowles here, but maybe he's just, again, because of the mirrored, he's not feeling so confident with that pick.
Yeah, or perhaps he just doesn't realize exactly how fast Bulls is. Um, I know he's had a couple of picks against other players where he's been a little unsure of which pod is the next best after the, optimal choice for the track.
Yeah, it does vary a little bit depending on the track. But I mean, obviously, in terms of the best pods, there's pretty much only two. There's Ben and Bullseye. Really, they pretty much take top spot. So you can sort of look at it a little bit in a way and say, well, we've got Ben tracks and we've got Bullseye tracks, and then just kind of like have a ranking list for each one that you could use. I mean, it'd be a little bit basic, but it give you some idea, I think, as to which pod you'd actually want to pick on a given track.
Yeah, a list like that is something that I've definitely thought about and that a lot of other competitors I think have ready just because you could have up to 4 pods banned for a single track, so you do need to be prepared.
Yeah, I remember in the first tournament, I think there was only one pod ban option. So, and now you've got, like you say, four. So they need to know, they need to be prepared for every eventuality, essentially.
Once again, Digital Unity's second lap looking a whole heck of a lot cleaner than his first lap now that he's got some familiarity on the course. And, of course, now that he's got that familiarity built back up, you can really start to see the gap between these players. Both of them heavily improved, but Digital Unity's really been putting in the time and getting a lot of very respectable times in practice.
Yeah, he's definitely a different player compared to last year. I mean, it goes without saying his death rate is lower than it was, but yeah, his technique and general skill level, I would say, has improved significantly through watching him through these past 3 weeks worth of races. He really, it's very clear he's been doing, like you say, a lot of work and knows what he's doing and has, better strategies really with that.
A little unfortunate there, the wall ride kind of fails him. He loses the boost and doesn't manage to jump off.
Yeah, I still think that's better though, because I mean, at least he's not getting slowed down by the terrain. So it's still a pretty good strategy, I would say.
True, yeah, he obviously on the off-road terrain there, he also cannot charge his boost due to the slowdown. You have to be going at least 3/4 of your top speed in order to charge a boost.
Yeah, good strategy from DigitalUnity.
Yeah, very nice to see him adapting so quickly to the mirror modes and overcoming the challenge. Oh, that was a strange-looking crash there from Mageius. Not sure I've ever seen someone bounce around quite like that.
Yeah, quite pleased that my mic has been behaving itself today, so I can actually hear all the commentary and what's going on. That's good.
Yeah, you've had some internet issues and mic issues. It's been a time. All right, well, Digital Unity will take this, finishing his last lap as Mageius is on the first third or so of his. And here you can see, in part, the massive time loss you take if you don't go through that off-road shortcut section Digital Unity was taking. Mageius here is taking actually the longest of 3 separate routes.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how much time lost it would be. I imagine it's probably somewhere in the region of 5, maybe 10 seconds, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how much it is either, especially since we're using Bullseye Navwar here, so the times are different than they would be with Ben. I do recall we had a community challenge a while back, which was you play this track against fast AI with no upgrades, and you're not allowed to go off-road. And it was actually nearly impossible to beat the fast AI, as they do take that shortcut. So it is a very significant time save.
Now we see again the problems having a red engine causes you.
Yeah, it's sort of a self-compounding issue, right? You get a red engine, and then all of a sudden you're dragged into walls and scrape even more.
Yeah, it's just impossible for Mageius to turn left at that point.
All right, 825 across the line for Mageius there. Good show to both players, especially adapting to that mirror mode by DigitalUnity. Some interesting races to watch just because of the everything being backwards. It's like a whole new game.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that Mageius might try and take one. I think possibly with if he'd have picked, there's a couple of things maybe he could have picked that would have perhaps given him some chances for a win. But I still feel like to some extent that those mirrored tracks were again perhaps a little bit of a risk for DigitalUnity because again it's just goes to show how difficult it is to adapt in that scenario. Yeah, more than likely, DigitalUnity will be moving on to the bracket stage, double elimination from this match.
Yeah, almost certainly. Unless Magis is able to cause an upset on one of the other runners in their group. And hello there, DigitalUnity.
That was an experience.
You're a kind of a champ there for agreeing to mirror mode and adapting so quickly to all of it.
Yeah, except for on Gauntlet, where I literally thought there was a right turn when there wasn't anymore.
Yeah,
I
we
did that a
saw.
couple times on Gauntlet. Oh, there's Mageius. Hi. Welcome.
Hey, how's everything? How y'all doing?
That was wonderful.
Glad you
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
Oh boy. We were just talking about that Gauntlet pick specifically because there were a couple times where my muscle memory was just too strong and I tried to turn right and ended up immediately dying.
I mean, for me, I've got to work on it on that one, but I know, as I said, in the Discord, it's like there's some actual mirrored tracks that they're easy to do, but at
Yeah,
the same point, it's just like, and there's a handful that actually work better mirrored because of just like where the obstacles get to.
that is true. The way that the camera's placed, some of it just looks different and is better.
Yeah, and I still
Counterpoint,
say
some of it looks worse and is worse.
I know, but that's why I said it's just like even just for a here, let's allow like here's the basics, like the solid like easier to intermediate ones, as like a hey, you can choose it, but it's got to be like like one of these, unless it's a gentleman's to a harder one.
Right.
I think
Oh
it made
boy.
some really interesting matches. To be honest, it's fun to watch mirror be played in tournament. I mean, I remember that Magis picked that against me as well. I was saying during commentary for that match is that I think Magis picked Bunter Classic with mirrored against me, and I think actually as well with all your races, Magis, I think you improved since last year, so that's always good to see.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sure you'd have been much happy to try and have got a win there, but you
Uh,
know,
I got better. That's the one good thing. I mean, if you noticed, I stuck with bullseye, so it's like I've gotten better on the controlling, which is why I picked mostly a lot of the tracks that have a lot of the turns on that one because I've gotten better with that one for the
yeah,
most part. I know I still need to improve it, but still need to work with getting better on Ben and then learning some of the shortcuts. But picking something most people don't normally practice is just like, hey, here's something you don't practice. Try to remember that kind of stuff and try to actually think about it.
Yeah, you certainly improved. And it's always good to see that.
Oh yeah. I think that if this year's Magius had gone against last year's me, it would have been like as close to a draw as you can get.
I mean, to be fair, I really haven't had a chance to practice much, but at the same point, it's like me, it's just getting down like the just proper feel on that one, and using a controller. I like using it. The problem is that honestly, just like getting that. It's like if I have too little, sensitivity, it's just like it won't work, but too much is a thing, and it's just like trying to get that balance.
Mm.
I mean, I almost wish I mean, I've seriously thought about picking up the Switch version just so I can actually use gyro, but for the tournament, anybody know if that runs at 60 FPS or 30?
Well, I'm running it, so 60.
Yeah, I should consider that because I probably could handle the gyro a bit better on that. Because, well, I can, flail a lot on that one and probably
Technically, it's like 59.
yeah, and 59 and change on, but then again, if I do that, then I've got to seriously actually go through and unlock everything. That's a pain.
Yeah, and
But
I had a blast.
I have to give my congratulations to DigitalUnity as well, because you have improved so much since last year. It's really great to see that.
Thanks, I didn't even know I was getting better.
Oh yeah, you've certainly improved a hell of a lot. So it's really good to see.
I know I've hit a few times that one, not excluding the actual mirrored because I didn't really have anything in that. I think I've improved somewhat on that.
Yeah, we noticed several tournament PBs for you this match. Your Bunta Classic, especially, was a full minute faster than last year.
Well, it's mirrored on. Don't really practice as much, but the thing is that it's like, what other choices do I have? I could either ban a second pod. I don't know the skip yet, so that's really a moot point. And it's just like out of the other choices, it's like, hey, if you're willing to do mirrored, I'm willing to do that one. And I've got to learn, some good options for no upgrades. So
Yeah, me and my co-commentator thought perhaps you might be better off picking something like Mongaza Speedway, like some short track, or perhaps with the mirror mode I suggested.
I mean, to be fair, yes, I know it's one mistake, and yes, I can win on that one. But at the same point, it's like I'm still working on getting down, getting down proper controlling. So hey, one mistake helps, but when you're making, one or two, but when you're making like one or two mistakes, does it really help?
That's definitely a fair point to make. When you're making when you're making multiple mistakes
Yeah,
and you've only gone down to making slightly less than multiple mistakes.
yeah. It's like you don't want to do like MGS. You want to do it on like of course, that's just like either a bit harder with lots of turns, like GVG, Boomta, or something like that, where it's just like you have to play a lot better, but so does your opponent. So you may make mistakes, but your opponent making mistakes is just as possible. Then throw in mirrored, and
Yeah.
it's even more fun.
Yeah, that's a very fair point, actually, Major. I think it's certainly true what you're saying. I think playing those tracks will really improve your skill level, and there's certainly
Yeah.
a lot of my favorite tracks for that reason. So yeah, that's a very very good point.
Honestly, if we had done, central mirrored, I mean, legitimately, that track is just about the same mirrored and non-mirrored. I mean, that's just a good example of just like, hey, it's a track. You just have to learn like one to two small things different, and you have enough time to react to it.
Yeah, definitely makes for a very fun watching experience, especially once you've gotten very used to all the tracks and know how every turn is going to go. It's nice to have a viewing experience where everything is a surprise.
As I said, I seriously, recommend, and I recommended this last year. Please consider mirrored as a forced option, even if you're limited to certain tracks. It's like,
It still makes it real fun to watch because most people don't even I'm not even sure most people know that there is a mirror mode in this game.
There is, and as I said,
It takes
so
a bit to unlock that. I don't think that a lot of people
you have
actually
to
know it's there.
you have to unlock every track. You have to legitimately finish tournament mode to do that. Although the saddest thing is I do wonder whether or not that actually gets you more prize money.
I don't believe it does. Once you've
Yeah,
completed a track,
it almost is like you sort of want it to be that way so you get the stuff. But I said it before and I'll say it again. If you're playing the thing on consoles, if you have cloud saves, just cloud save all your winnings and just make sure you just don't save enough on that one. And then once you get everything, cloud save your full amount. Then you can always just re-download it.
Definitely. Um, I don't know why I'm trying to. I don't know why I'm even trying to play Bunta Classic right now and talk at the same time. It's a bad plan.
You're
But
probably
I
just wanting
noticed
to
one of
have
my
fun. Are you playing it mirrored or non-mirrored?
non-mirrored. I'd like to go back to the regular dimension real quick. Want to get out of Bizarro land.
To be fair, as I said, mirrored is a fun option. It should
It
be.
is. It's
I
just
mean,
very confusing.
it's confusing to some degree, but if you, as I said, if you practice like some of the easier tracks, that actually have decent mirrored options, it's like, oh, okay, do this instead, do that instead. It's like it lets you build up and still keep that muscle memory on some of the harder tracks while learning it.
That's that makes a lot of sense actually when you put it that way.
It's a fun mode to practice, and it's a great way to also work on control. Because if you're realizing, oh, I'm shifting too much to the left or to the right, like, okay, you now have to adjust to the opposite on it.
It
So that
also
is,
helps a lot with like reacting to negative situations when you end up in them by mistake.
yeah.
Because there's no way I could have predicted any of what was coming in mirror mode since I basically have never booted into mirror mode before. So anytime something went catastrophically wrong, I had to do it on reaction.
And the good question is, did you have fun?
I did. I had a lot of fun. That was a rip snorting good time.
As I said, mirror mode is probably like one of the best options that's not in the tournament yet. And it should be. It really should. As
Keep volleying for it, dude. It'll get there one day.
even if you just like look at all the tracks, pick out the easy ones on that, like the semi-easy ones, like, because yes, there are some that even on amateur, the slightest change like makes it 10 times worse. But at the same point, it's just like, I mean, you saw like just some of the tracks I chose was just like, was it hard in mirror mode? Mm, yes and no.
I think the main concern is that it's a lot of extra practice time to put on the players. If you have to practice every single track twice and sort of mess up your muscle memory just to try and avoid one person maybe picking mirror mode and getting an auto win against you, it's a lot of work to put on everyone.
I mean, that's why I suggested just having like, the easier ones on that one, the ones that's just like you can compensate really easily. Like, oh, this is coming up, reverse it. I mean, as I said, there were tracks on that one. Like, I'm looking at, you guys can see my screen right now. I'm looking at execution. That's the thing. Pulling into mirror mode, it's a lot easier to just help with explaining that one to, viewers on that one.
I personally
Also,
think
the
that
courses that start in like an arena,
Yeah,
they helped me a little bit more to acclimate because I could see from the get-go that, hey, everything is backwards.
yeah. I mean, as I said, a lot of the tracks is just like it's really, like keeping it to like some of the ones like Gravbind Mirrored is hell. It is legitimately one of the worst tracks in the game.
I would not wish Graphite mirrored on my worst enemy.
Yeah, neither would I. But it's like some of the things like as I said, Executioner, like Executioner, and or Prime, like Gauntlet, like those are actually just about the same, with a few small, subtle differences. because they have like enough wide open space that it's just like, oh, instead of turning right, I gotta turn left. It's like, and if you're just cutting across the route, the road anyway, you do the same stuff.
Margin for error is what they have.
Yeah, that's one of the things. It's just like
Spice Mine
you're
Run
not
would be
allowed
really
to,
good for that too. Then
as I said, just picking like the ones that's like just allow for a margin of error, as like you guys can do this, you can force it for the tracks, and then just hey, the gentleman's into some of the harder ones if they want it. I mean, do you seriously think the Bunta training course is probably going to be harder mirrored than it is normal?
well, a lot of things are going to be harder mirrored than they are normal. But I get what you're saying. Are you scared of mirrored Bunta training? And the answer is you probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, or like Mangaze.
Ooh, Mangaza sounds awful mirrored. That's a very it looks easy. That track is very technical though. A lot of muscle memory
MGS.
goes into that. Yeah.
Yeah, that I said like
Right, but there's only like 3 turns is the thing.
yeah,
So
like just
while it is incredibly technical, you shouldn't be scared to do it mirrored because there's not a whole lot to really
do.
analyze. You should
Yeah,
be able to
like
at least play it on reaction.
that's why I said just picking the tracks that are like that, as mirrored options, really, really, really worth it for the tournament, for next year. Or if you can gentleman that one with your opponent, just like pick a few like just that you think you could do, and just like, hey, you want to do it this way, make it a little bit spicy. You can avoid like a lot of the major, a lot of the stupidly hard ones, and just pick something where it's just like adds a little bit of extra skill to it, but it's still a fair and balanced race.
I think maybe a good idea would be to have like just a mirrored only tournament. That would be fun.
No one would
Oh,
sign up.
that sounds
No one would
cursed.
sign up.
Well, you might get
I,
ace.
To be
no, I
fair,
don't
though,
think Ace would play that, honestly.
as I said, just
There's a
even
disturbance in the force there at that suggestion.
as I said, mirrored is so fun. I recommend for those that have got matches left, practice one or two and see if like even just some of the easier ones, and see if you and your opponent might just like, hey, do you want to do this semi-easy track on mirror to make it more fun? It's just like most people would agree to like some of the really easy ones on with mirrored.
I thought that was going to go better than it did. Yeah, definitely the way to do it would be at least to see if anybody wants to do a gentleman's right now for mirror because
And I'm happy
when you
anytime.
ran that by me, my first instinct was ew no, and then I thought about it and I thought that could be fun actually.
Yeah, it's a very good fun thing to do. I mean, you're not going to be doing it with no upgrades because no one's going to force that. No one.
No
Yeah, that's just
maniac
no
is going to
way.
use 2 forces for
Yeah,
mirrored
yeah.
no upgrades.
It's like nah. So you're always going to be doing it at least with your full kit. So have that, and just like I swear there's some tracks that are like they're a lot easier with mirrored because of just like not only where the camera is, but also just like how you come out. Because sometimes it's like, oh, like having to make a sharp like right turn into something versus like sharp left, but like the where you're coming out just like lines up better.
Well, we should probably let Speed
Yeah.
Gaming have their channel back soon here.
Yeah.
Congratulations to DigitalUnity once again.
Yeah,
Thanks.
GG.
This means I
Probably
move on,
secured
right?
bracket. Yeah, this has almost certainly secured your place in bracket.
Hooray! I get to actually go to the next round this year.
Hey, at least I've gotten closer on a lot of the races.
Oh yeah. No, you've gotten incredible. Like I don't remember what it was last year, but honestly, your pivot from using an SNES controller to a different controller.
Oh, not just that, but also the fact of I'm using an actual. I actually have it set so that way I can use the turn with the rolls on that one. It makes it a lot easier because, hey, I can use the shoulder buttons to compensate for a roll to the other direction.
Took me a minute to process that, but yeah, that makes sense. That's a
Yeah,
big improvement.
I mean, heck, if I'm rolling to left, going that way, then if I, suddenly roll the opposite direction, it's going to immediately compensate for how I turn.
Definitely. Yeah, we should let Speed Gaming have their channel back, but I will be back at 6:30 racing against my next opponent for the day.
Have fun on that one.
Yeah,
But
2
that should
tournament
be-
matches in one day. I'm a genius. I made great decisions in my life.
That should be a very close match there as well. You and Twy Guy were looking similarly strong, so definitely looking forward to watching.
I'm really looking forward to that match, to be honest.
You could always see if the gentleman's into 1 or 2 mirrored.
I could ask that, but I don't know if I want to, I don't know if I'm ready to do mirror mode twice in one day here.
That's why I said
I was crazy enough the first time.
I said pick the easy ones. It's a lot more fun.
That's true. I could just pick the easier ones. But yeah, be sure. Am I going to be on the same channel, or am I going to be on a different Speed Gaming channel next time?
Yes, I believe it'll be on Speed Gaming tonight. That's at 6:30 Eastern Time, so just about 4 hours here.
6:30 Eastern Daylight Time.
Hype.
Hype.
Good races to both of the runners. And thank you, as always, to Speed Gaming for hosting this tourney for us for the third year in a row now.
Yeah. Good fun every
My
year.
brain misheard that, and I thought, we've been doing this for 30 years? The game's only been out for 20.
Yeah.
We're just that good.
Third year, not 30th year. Boy, my brain's not in the right spot when I'm just trying to multitask like this.
It happens.
Get out of the wall! Alright, I'm going to leave my stream running, but you guys have a great day.
Yes,
You as well, and good luck in your next match.
Thanks.
Yeah, well done, DigitalUnity. You've definitely got some chances against Dwy Guy for sure. So very looking forward to watching that match later.
You guys are just talking to the guy who was scraping against a wall for 3 minutes in the middle of Bunta Classic, right?
Honestly, yeah. All right, may the force be with all of you. Thanks again for watching, everyone. And we'll see you again in about 4 hours for some more pod racing.
Bye, all.
See you later.